All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the MRC Town Hall. I'll be your host today, as normal, Ray Whitaker. And as always, we're going to have the wonderful Jim Whaley, the CEO of the organization, here to chat with you guys. A couple administrative notes, as always, Jim, if you'll indulge me. First thing, next meeting or the next town hall will be on August 20th for those that are interested and like these. So 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. CST. For any reason, if you think we should do it at a different time, tell us, right? We're always interested to get your comments and your thoughts on these things. If you have a question, whatever platform you happen to be watching us on, post it into that platform. Our staff right now are all over the place, so they're more than happy to grab those questions and, again, post them up for Jim and I. Like to do a 30-minute town hall, if you will, and usually try to take 10 minutes at the end to answer those questions. And I know you've got a lot of them. We want you to ask the questions. It helps us. And it also helps us get your voice, especially for Jim and Mike, the guys that are out doing advocacy for you the most. So without further ado, Jim, I know that you're just getting back from a small vacation. I think you took about a week or so. Right. Can you talk about it? Did you get recharged? Do you feel a little bit better now?
I did. Went up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to visit with one of my daughters, one that's in the Coast Guard, and we did some great fishing in Lake Superior and caught some big fish. She caught the biggest one, but that's okay. But enjoyed the weather and the people, and just it's important, I think, for all of us, right, to just take a break away from things, turn off all those mobile devices, and just focus on our families and our friends, and do a little reading and not scrolling reading. By actually reading books and things like that. And I enjoyed it. So, that's what summertime's all about, right? Take a little time away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anytime you can take a little bit of time off for yourself and, of course, your family is definitely important. Well, over the last 30 days, though, we've had Independence Day. So for those that know, July 4th, we talk a lot about inside of the organization, before folks come in, about the importance of the freedoms that, those that are currently serving and those that have served, what they've done to make sure that we have the freedoms. And I would love to get your opinion and your thoughts on just how important it is for us to continue to focus on veterans and their families, not only from Mission Roll Call's perspective, but also from other nonprofits, to make sure that they're taken care of not only now, but for generations to come.
Yeah, I mean, you can't take your freedoms that we all enjoy for granted. And our forefathers and foremothers, right, did that for us by serving this country and hostile places and serving their country. And so it's a day to remember all that and celebrate that and celebrate our independence so that our country could be free. And it's an amazing experiment of great minds coming together at the right time and right place that put together our Constitution and Bill of Rights and all of that that encompasses just being able to move from state to state, start businesses, have freedom, the ability to vote, all those things that if you don't travel and you don't see the world and you haven't served in different places in the world, you may feel like the rest of the world's like that, and it isn't. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important for us to acknowledge that. But it's also, to me, it's great to go to those 4th of July parades when you see the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and different teams marching, and then, different veteran support organizations out there marching and celebrating, because to me, it shows, we're committed to this, right? It's going to continue, and that young people understand the importance of this. And, in a few years, those little kids that are marching the parade are those that are the future doctors, lawyers serving in the military and serving in Congress. And so the basis of seeing all that and experiencing it and understanding the importance of it, it just doesn't happen by reading a book, right? Or hearing it one time. It's about experiencing it over years and seeing the importance of it, and that the whole nation focuses on that day and the importance of it. I think, it's one of those, I hope, a unifying day of our country, where we can come together from different walks of life and different political spectrums and say, yeah, but let's celebrate our great nation.
Yeah. And I think, one of the hard things, as I speak to my family and friends, for those that haven't served, is maybe not understanding the freedoms that we actually have and seeing those freedoms, because they haven't been to other locations and seen exactly, what we actually have in the United States and what it really looks like. No matter what it looks like politically or anything, it's that we have a way of life that's very interesting, right? And And that's very meaningful. And I think 4th of July is a good testament of that. Joseph, good to see you. I see you. You said hey to Jim and I. Appreciate you being here as always. So with that being said, talking about freedoms, talking about being a voice, one thing we want to show is right now on missionrollcall.org, we've got the Innovating Care Survey. It's up and it's live. Jim, one of the things we're doing here is making sure that we're capturing your voice for everybody that's watching this, right? So veterans and your families, and even those that support, right? So even if you're not a veteran, you're a civilian, it's okay, because this poll is to also get your sentiment and understand you and understand what you're thinking about these issues, and it helps others. So if you guys take a little bit of time, please go to that. We'll post up the link here on whatever platform you happen to be watching it on, and do that. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, well, yeah, I go take the poll, I go take the survey. You know, Jim, what's going to happen to the results? Like, how are we knowing what came out of it? And Jim, that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit and have you kind of shed a little bit of light about our last survey that we just completed. That was focused on mental health. That was focused on suicide prevention, and some of that. Is there anything on that survey, any statistics, any of the things that kind of stood out to you?
Yeah. Very much so. And one that I shared with my family and everybody, because I was really shocked by the number. And then I shared it with my wife, and shared it with my daughters, and then shared it with my friends. And that's the number of people, veterans, that have thought about suicide or know somebody who's taken their life, or who's committed suicide. And that number is 67%, if I'm correct. Yeah. And that is a much higher number than I originally thought. So what's that telling us is that if you think about it, we have, thanks for putting that up there. Make sure I put my glasses on here, make sure I did. Yes, there we go. So, how important do you think it is to include community-based organizations, nonprofits, in suicide prevention? And 67% says it's extremely important. I feel that the numbers on suicide we've struggled with as a nation, and these surveys are helping legislators, people on the House Veterans Affairs Committee, people in Congress, people in the local community, people that are boots on the ground trying to tackle this significant problem, understand the scope of it. And we can never lose sight of the importance of this, and understand the magnitude of it, and why it's so important for us as VSOs, as citizens, as just caring people, to understand the scope on this, and that chances are someone has thought about suicide, knows somebody who's thinking about suicide. And that's kind of sobering.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Nate, so pull up the website for us. So let's go to that first. I think the first poll question, I think the one you were talking about, Jim, is it's going to be like this 67% of, have you or someone personally struggled with suicidal? Nope, go back to the one you were just in, Nate. Because when you add those numbers up, the 32, 35, that equals 67. Yeah.
Right.
This is the one that I think you were really kind of honing in on, this idea. And I think really, Jim, and I know where you're going to go with this. It's not only that this statistic, and again, the idea of these surveys and polls for everybody that's listening, look, we all have our bias, right? Jim and I do. Everybody on the planet has their bias. The one thing that we try to do with these surveys is it's not about our bias. It's about getting your experience and your opinions based off what you've seen in your life, right? Just because I've served in the Army, well, there is hundreds and thousands, if not millions of people that have served in the Army, the U.S. Army. That doesn't mean my experience is just like Jim Whaley's. We both were in the U.S. Army, but we have totally different experiences. And that's what these polls and surveys are meant to do. So I think the startling part where you were going, Jim, with that 67% is that this is a very small part of the population. But if you expand that, so if we say we have 18 million veterans, what does that mean if we have that such a high number that either they or somebody that they know have struggled with mental health or suicidal ideations? This is where things become a little bit more troubling, because it's a little bit larger of an issue, and you don't get that unless you ask the question, right?
Right. And I think what happens is as with most problems, we try to solve the immediate problem. right?
Yeah.
I mean, we do it at our maintaining our home, maintaining our car, right? I mean, it's an issue, so we go fix that issue, and we don't look holistically on the bigger problem. And clearly, when you think about nearly 70%, right? Keep the math simple. If it's nearly 70% of 18 million people, now you're talking tens of millions of people that are in that category.
Yeah.
And so when you think about it from that perspective, I think it not only underscores the importance of us doing these surveys and sharing them almost real time with elected officials. I mean, this morning I watched the Access Act discussion that was happening in the House Veterans Affairs Committee. And this was one of the topics that came up. And I know they have that data in front of them because we gave them that data.
That's right.
And we get that data from the good people that are listening to this and sharing it with their friends and family. It's powerful because it's not filtered. Like you said, there's no bias. We're just as surprised as they are on these numbers. And we don't have the answers to all these numbers, but we know if we can get people in the room and look at this, let me step back. You can't solve any problem till you know the scope of the problem.
That's right.
And that's what this does. And that's why these polls are so important. So, sharing it with families and friends, I look at this as, let's say somebody sees this and they look at that number and they go, I'm going to go check on John. I haven't checked on him in a while. Last time I talked to him, he was a little down about something. This number's troubling to me. To me, that's worth doing all of this.
Yeah.
If we save one veteran in this process, somebody reached out, somebody made a call, somebody said, let's go get a cup of coffee, let's go play a round of golf, let's go do something, then our time here on earth is well spent.
Yeah. Well, I think that, there's a part for me, and I'm going to get a little bit, I do speak directly from the heart. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm not a perfect person, but I try to think about, why am I in this organization? And part of the reason that we're here is this, I don't know if I can fix anything to do with suicide, homelessness, financial issues, the transition problem, like any of these problems. I don't know. What I can do, though, is bring to light the issues that I'm being told or the things that I have experienced so that somebody that's possibly smarter than I, which there's plenty of those people out there, but somebody that's smarter than I that is inside of that area can help make change. And I think from an organizational perspective, and Jim, what we do every day and this amazing team that we have is doing that, right? Putting a lot of hard work together to put this data together, to hand it to somebody like we just did with this, like you mentioned, we gave it to the VA. Here's the results. All we're doing is making sure that you understand. I think the gravity of what you think the issue is probably not as big as you think, because you can't go to Google and search that, right? Yeah. That's not the place to do this. You got to talk to the people that are living it every day to understand what the issues are. And I want to give an example of that because we weren't going to talk about this. See how we just go off cuff. We're doing a homelessness page, and you know that, Jim. Like we're so far into that page. That page then kind of went into this other idea. You mentioned it, where you can't solve a problem unless you understand the scope of the problem. You also you can't solve a problem. You don't even know what the problem is, right? Like, and that's a different conversation, but we're talking about access to care right now. And one of the interesting things that's coming out of that is the times. So we go in and we look, as an organization and go, hey, how much time is it taking for Jim Whaley to get an appointment? And Jim goes, okay, well, statistically, through everything that we're getting, VA, community care providers, all that, hey, it's under 30 days, you're going to your first appointment. Mm-hmm. Veterans are then telling us, whoa. Hey, Mission Roll Call, we appreciate you guys doing it, but that's not the problem. The problem is not my first visit to the primary care. The problem is the specialty care afterwards.
Exactly.
Right. And I don't know if you want to throw a couple numbers out there, but like some of those numbers that we're seeing are in the hundreds plus days for specialty care for somebody just to be seen around a specific, could be your stomach, it could be, your heart, could be mental health, it could be all of these things. And that's such an interesting thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. And it all relates to each other. So think about it. If it's taking 100+ days for you to get mental health, a mental health appointment, or seeing somebody over something that's bothering you, well, then we shouldn't be surprised on the numbers that are thinking about suicide or know somebody who's committed suicide. Yeah. I mean, the fact is you have to get to people quickly when these issues arise and break the chain of events so that something intercedes before we get down a slippery slope and into a dark place. So those numbers are alarming, and they're not cherry-picked numbers, right? I mean, and that's the challenge with when you look at statistics, is sometimes the numbers are cherry-picked. And I'm not saying the VA cherry-picked numbers or anybody has, but the fact is we know statistics sometimes can be manipulated. Ours aren't. I mean, they're looking at the raw numbers. And we know that if you're in a rural area, then you even have a higher propensity of waiting longer to get that care. And now you're even more isolated, probably, than other folks. So it's all those things relate to each other. And so that's why I think when you talk about the whole spectrum of healthcare and veterans, in particular, the access to healthcare, it's important to have these numbers so that decision makers can put the assets in the right place. Tremendous amount of money being paid in the VA, but if it's going in the wrong place and just making marginal differences rather than huge differences in the wait times, then there's a problem, and they can use these numbers. I would also say that we provide this information free. Right. We just put this on our website. There's a lot of organizations that does research, and then you have to buy subscriptions and you have to be able to get that information. We haven't done that with this information because we feel it's so important as an organization. So other VSOs can use this in their advocacy and say, well, listen, did you see this report? And I think it is incumbent on all of us as veterans to work together to make sure our voices are heard. That's what we're trying to do. But there's a number of other VSOs out there that probably can benefit from the research that we've done to augment some of the things that they're trying to do to make sure that elected officials hear this. And that doesn't mean all VSOs agree on the priorities of things. And every VSO is a little bit different. But this is big. These have huge outcomes. Because you're talking life and death numbers here. And so that's why I feel really good about what the team has put together here. And it's resonated with veterans. I mean, they're taking these polls and record numbers. They're sharing the information. And I think part of that is we're hitting a chord with them and saying, oh, finally, somebody's asked me a question I needed asked. And then second, they're seeing outcomes from that. We're kind of closing the loop and coming back, and we can improve on that, right? I mean, we're always trying to improve as a team on that, but to circle back to people and say, okay, this is what we heard, this is what we sent, and this is what the legislation and the bill looks like, and this is where that bill is. And that unfortunately takes some time. But I mean, it's interesting. We're doing this call now, and today I was on the call that I was mentioning earlier, and I was hearing some of the comments that we've heard from veterans. So it's working.
Yeah, I mean, and we gotta maintain that lean and mean, operational structure, which allows us to navigate in and out, right? And it's something that you and I talk about a lot. The team, a fabulous team. I mean, they're the ones that are really putting the hard work in. So just real quick, Scott, John, Daniel, Nathan, David, thank you guys so much for being here. We're going to get to some of these questions, so don't think we're ignoring them. I see them, and we're going to get to them. I know the team's already starting to highlight them, so thank you for those. A lot of important things, a lot of important discussions to discuss. Okay, a couple other things I want to talk about, Jim. Nate, if you can pull up pull that up again. Okay, so we talked about, there's a statistic we don't have on here, Jim, right? The statistic, I don't want to put a number because I don't like putting numbers, but you and I have always had this kind of mindset, and it's not just us. I'm hearing this from other veterans, where the idea of having a tribe of some sort is powerful for veterans, and it's powerful for the families. Right. So what I mean by that is, not a spouse, anybody that's done the PTA and some of the others, maybe that's it. Maybe there's something else, but like anything, you need people around you, right? You need somebody that has a commonality. For us veterans, when you leave service, imagine I'm in a team, a squad, a platoon, a brigade, wherever you are. When you leave, the mission goes. And you're kind of floating around in the ocean on, paddleboard, just trying to figure out what's next, right? You don't see land anywhere, and you have nobody helping you. So for a second, if somebody could just paddle up beside me and go, hey, Ray, look, man, I appreciate you out here floating. They're sharks, by the way. I would probably go east, because east is what I did and I got this. But if you go west, you're going to see this. And if you go north.
Yeah.
So my whole point of this is, one of the things we learned from this statistically was that veterans actually want to be in a tribe. And it was actually a pretty large number. It's not this poll, but it's another one. But then it kind of takes us to this one where folks, 67% of those that reply to this believe that including community-based organizations, peer groups, tribe, however you want to call it, whatever that thing is, will actually help in suicide prevention efforts. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Jim.
Yeah, this actually was not a surprise to me, because we've been living it for a long time. We know that this is vitally important. We're all of us are built to be, in some degree, involved with other humans, right? Social, the social part of our life is very important. Our friends, our family, associates, coworkers, all of those things play a key role in our self-worth and how we identify ourselves. And I feel like there's a lot of people, and I was one of them to some extent when I first got out of the military. I got this. I don't really need anybody. I can manage this. And you quickly find out that there's some things missing, and maybe it isn't just the thing that is going to solve your problem right then, but it's the ability to talk to and relate to others that are on the same path you are, climbing the same hill. And just that process makes life easier. I mean, how many times did you do stuff in the military and you're like, I don't know if I can do this, but then you looked over to your left and right and said, well, if that guy can do it, I can do it. And that pushed you on. And I think to some degree it's understanding that all of us need some help from time to time. And that's why these VSOs are so important. And we know that if people are involved with that the likelihood of them being isolated goes way down. We know that their sense of purpose goes way up. And when you add those two things together, you're probably now on a much better path than if those two things were inversed. And I think that's what VSOs do. And I would urge everybody, even if you're in a great place, you're in the transition process, or you've been out for 20 plus years like I have, plug in to an organization. It doesn't have to be ours. It could be anyone that's on our resource directory or one that's in your local community. Or if you don't have one, do what you did when you were in the military. Take charge. Start one. Reach out to your fellow veterans and set up a monthly coffee or something, a walk, a run, something that's going to get you involved with other folks. And it's just good for your self-worth. It's good for your psyche. And at the end of the day, I think all of us want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. We want to improve the places that we are, right? You always say improve the foxhole. It's that. It's you just want to make a little bit better for those that are behind you. And sometimes in that process, you take care of yourself too.
Yeah. Well, I've always said that, if a veteran nonprofit's offering food, Jim, I'm there. You know what
You're
I mean?
there.
I'm all like, it's,
and that's the way we get you to meetings is virtual food.
I know most of the time I'm sleeping, but as soon as if I smell donuts and pizza, man, I'm like, I'm there. But what a great way to kind of, I feel like you lobbed that one up for me, where we talk about like, hey, how do I find an organization? Well, one of the things for those that are listening, one of the things we're trying to build is this idea that no nonprofit makes the impact that they could make without everybody else on their team. And that means all the other nonprofits, right? So football doesn't exist without all the football teams. You can't just have one football team and then football exists, right? They're just playing against each other. And sometimes in a veteran service organization space, that's what it feels like. And one of the things I loved about what we did coming into this is like, hey, we're going to do this different. We're not only going to put veterans right on our shoulders and walk around and try to get them what they need based off of their voice. We're also going to look around at all the other veteran service organizations. We're going to check them out, make sure that they're doing what they should be, right? I mean, we need to be careful about what we're doing, but we're not holding them back for particular reasons. It's just making sure that they're following the things that they should. But then we bring forth, and Nate and team will pull it up, which is basically the veteran resource directory.
Yeah, I
right.
love
One
that.
of the things I always talk about, this hub. Like, hey man, I wish I'd have had a hub when I was leaving service, when I was going to whatever state I was going to. And that's what we're trying to build here. We're trying to build a system that people can come into, veterans and their families, and they can find the resources.
Yeah.
And we know that these resources work. We're checking them. We're staying in contact with this. A lot of these folks are being on the podcast or in videos, so forth and so on. So Jim, what's the impact of this type of relationship with other nonprofits?
Well, it's groundbreaking because no one's ever done it before, right? I mean, the fact is that when we first started this, and some great members of our team put this together, and Valerie comes to mind, and Nate comes to mind, and others. But we reached out to organizations. We said, would you like to be part of this? And in many cases, some of them said, well, what's this going to cost? And of course, we said, it's nothing. We want to promote you. We've looked at what you've done. We've done some vetting. We see that your impacts are significant, and you're doing the right things for veterans. And so we'd like to promote what you're doing. And some of those you see on our podcasts. We bring them in. So we're elevating them so that people get to know them. And now we have a number, and I don't know the number.
Just over 50. I think we're at 58 right now across 50 states.
So that's amazing. And think about what an impact that has, not only for that organization, right? So that they can get some visibility and get veterans to click and join and be involved that they never would have reached before. So it helps all those VSOs. And then the second portion, it helps those that are getting out of the service or kind of struggling. Maybe they've moved from the East Coast to the West Coast and they're starting a new job and they want to plug into an organization. They can go there, click on one of those organizations that is near them or strikes them as something they'd be interested in. Because here's the other thing. Sometimes your interests change through life. In different chapters of your life, it's one thing, and then another time it's another. And there's a lot of different organizations you can plug into there and get to know and be involved with. And so it's very helpful. And if you think about when I got out of the service hundreds of years ago, there was nothing like this, right? I mean, you had to figure it out on your own.
It's stone and chisel, right? You guys didn't even have the internet yet.
Pigeon. Yeah, it was like you just waited for something to land and give him, right? It was walkie-talkie. So
cans and string.
This is different. This is much better that you can get on there. And it was interesting. I don't know if anybody noticed. Nate goes through that, and then he goes straight to the whiskey one, whatever the organization is on a whiskey one. Now, if you were doing that, it would be like the hot dog or donuts
just food.
Or some kind of food. None of it was physical fitness, but there are organizations like Team Red, White, and Blue that does that kind of stuff, which I would urge my team to get involved with because they need it. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And you brought a lot of good points up, Jim, from your perspective. I did see I saw two questions. Normally I wait until the end, but we're going to talk about them real quick. So first off, everybody that's here, your voice doesn't just extend in the comments, right? Like it's very easy to post a comment here, and we're going to take these, we screenshot them, and we try to do it. We want connection with you, right? So the first thing I would say is, Rochelle, you mentioned we need a women's veteran group in Texas. We have women veteran groups that are looking for folks like you that they want to expand what they're doing across the U.S. All it takes is somebody like you to step up and go, hey, I want to help other people. Like it's literally that easy. And it's not a lot of time. I mean, think about it. Look, I'm all about going and marching up in the, the woods or the mountains of North Carolina and other locations with veterans because it's a good time, right? So it's not hard work. It's good work. So Rochelle, if you need anything, you can go to our contact us page. Nate, if you can show that real quick, we'll see how good he can, this is a test, Nate. If you can get to the contact us form on the website so that everybody here knows to see
and while Nate is doing that, our own Valerie is invited by the VA to participate in women veterans initiatives, one of a few handful of folks that have been asked to give their insight and opinion and expertise on what is going to resonate with women veterans, because those numbers of women veterans getting involved with organizations could improve. And we're trying to understand where some of those issues are and address them and get them energized.
That's right.
To be involved and reach the people we're not reaching. So, there we go.
And this goes to an inbox. So everybody knows every contact us comes to the team, and we answer them, right? Not all, because some are spam and other stuff, right? I'm not answering ones that aren't there. But if you send me a note and are asking a question, we're going to get you to the right people. I mean, it's why I'm here. I'm in the organization very simply to do that. And so is our team. Like, we love that. Jim, one of the other things I want to talk about, I'm going to kind of talk through this, but Marty asked, how do you all decide what issues to talk about? I'm going to give an easy answer, and then I'm going to push it over to you.
Oh,
I'm going to
sure.
say,
Take the easy one. Yeah, go ahead.
We don't decide what issues we focus on, Marty. And I'm going to pass it over to Jim to explain how we prioritize, how we focus on the priorities for veterans and their families. So, Jim, you want to explain how we do that?
Yeah, it's part of the DNA of this organization, that is amplifying the voice of veterans. It's not amplifying the voice of what Mission Roll Call thinks. It's not amplifying what one individual thinks. It's amplifying veterans' voices, and so that becomes the priority. And we do that through the polling, and we do that with interactions with veterans, on-site interactions. We talk to veterans. We reach out to them through correspondence, through conferences, through our own programs that we provide, where we go in and we talk to veterans, and we listen to what they have to say, and then we bring all that information together and say, okay, well, here's the priorities. And it's remarkable that veterans are energized by that, because I think they feel like, and they should feel, that they have ownership to these issues that we're bringing to lawmakers. And here's the other group of people we bring this to, and that's the media.
That's right. That's right.
And they see the value of us when we're talking to the media to say, well, this is what veterans are saying. This is what veterans are saying in Arizona. This is what the veterans are saying in Pennsylvania. And we can break it down and show them this is what female veterans are saying. This is what rural veterans are saying. We can share that information in almost real time. And that is powerful to the media. It's powerful to elected officials. And I think it energizes all of our veterans. You know, if we step back and you think about 18 million veterans and their dependents and their caregivers and family members, you're talking a sizable voters block. You're talking about a sizable group of Americans that their voice should be heard more than it is right now. And I think that's what we're bringing to the table with our in-depth discussions on our podcast, which I would urge everybody to listen to some of those podcasts that we have. And we have some great ones that are coming out this Friday with Walt Pyatt, CEO of Wounded Warrior. I thought that Miss Lang was awesome. I listened to her with Britt. That was a great podcast. And you learn about different organizations and what they're thinking and what they're seeing. And then it gives you just a quick snapshot on the breadth of all these issues. And there's so many great organizations doing wonderful work out there. And this is an opportunity to kind of listen to a CEO of a major organization and get their perspective and see what they're hearing on the ground and where their initiatives are. And I'll tell you what, every one of those ladies and gentlemen that have done that podcast with us afterwards are enormously thankful. They've learned something in the podcast. They've now made contact with veterans they haven't been able to contact. And I think that's important. And we follow the mantra that there's not a finite amount of success in the world, that our success and their success are not in competition to each other, just like there's not a finite amount of love in the world, right? Your happiness is not at my expense. And so I think with that kind of philosophy and reaching out to other organizations, I think it shows the power of the veteran community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also, if we go back to the podcast page, Nate, real quick, one of the things I bring up is you're going to see the nonprofits in those, but like one story that we've just had recently is Matthew Landis. This is a veteran that reached out to us, wanted to talk to the organization, tell his story, right? And to impact another veteran so that they possibly don't go down the same route that he did, or just talk it through so that they do understand. So I would say, for just generalized thing, is even if I watched his episode and was like, man, I've talked to other veterans that I've seen kind of going this path that Matthew went. And man, if I had only listened to his story sooner or knew somebody that was on this path, that I could have interjected what he's doing. So the Last Mission podcast, from a general perspective, for anybody that's listening, it's not only about the nonprofits that are out there, it's also about telling real, raw, experience stories from veterans to help, veterans and their families. And this is also spouses, to make sure that they have what they need to live a productive life.
And I have no doubt that podcast will save somebody.
Yeah, it already has. Like there's no question.
Somebody's going to forward that to somebody. Somebody's going to watch it themselves and go, "Oh, now I understand what I was feeling, what I was going through, and now I know what to do." I mean, it's powerful. Yeah. And I think the same thing with the podcast with Walt. I mean, people are going to listen to that and go, "Oh, I didn't know Wounded Warriors did that. I need to reach out to them." I don't know about you, Ray. I learn something every day about another nonprofit that I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know they even did that." Right. Yeah. And then I try to point somebody in that direction that maybe could benefit from that. And I think that's the power of our resource directory. That's the power of us communicating in a way that hits every major platform, and the powerful content we're developing, and then sharing this with everybody so that they can make a difference. And at the end of the day, all these numbers on homelessness, and I hope we get a chance to talk about homelessness a little bit, and suicide, it's all of us have a role to play on that. And our goal as a veteran community should be zero homeless and zero suicide. And until we reach those numbers, none of us should be satisfied, and we need to press on.
Yeah. Dan, one thing, so Dan asked Jim, he asked, do younger veterans care about this stuff the same way us old guys do? And Dan, I want to start the introduction of this kind of conversation. Coming into this organization, we again, this is the bias. So I'm not sure, Dan, if you were here kind of at the beginning when we started the conversation, where there is a bias, right? We all think of we see the world, we see it through our eyes. The one thing that Mission Roll Call has done for me, and talking to all of these VSOs that we talk to and veterans, is hearing their story and their experiences, and realizing that, everybody's different. Some people like to hunt, some people like to fish. And this is common sense stuff. We all know this, but from a nonprofit perspective, we don't always remember this. So I don't remember who posted it. Let me apologize, because I read it when you posted it. Somebody had posted up this idea like, "Hey, I don't even have VA healthcare. How are you taking care of me?" And the reason I bring that up, Dan, is because the one thing that we're trying to do is to understand that the veteran demographic is a very large demographic, right? The type of wars, the type of things that veterans have been through are completely different. The type of injuries somebody may have sustained in Vietnam are going to be different than what you may see today. So what I would say is that we're looking at all 18 million, right? Our goal is to represent that 18 million. It's to represent the families of those 18 millions, to get that voice. We represent it through the voice. We can't do it alone. So if they're not there, they're not telling us. So our part of this, Dan, is getting down to that bottom level. And there's one thing that we all agree in the veteran space. Well, I'll say 90% of us agree that we don't want the people following us to have to do the same thing that we did, right? We always think about the generations to come. And I think the World War II veterans, my opinion, I think the World War II veterans did it best back then, because they thought about us with the GI Bill and these other things to put this in place for us with the American Legion and all that. Mm-hmm. Now it's our responsibility now at this point to make sure that the younger generation doesn't forget, just because you're out doesn't mean generations to come are not going to still be fighting for the freedoms that we all get an opportunity to partake in every single day. And that's what we're really pushing towards. So Jim, I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
No, I couldn't answer any better. I think, every generation's different. Every veteran's experience is different. And so we try to reach all of them through the myriad of things that we offer. And I think, this new generation of veterans that are getting out right now are just as passionate about their service as we were. And they want to continue to be serving their communities, and they just need a way to do that. And I think if we had this kind of resource directory 20 years ago, we would have been in a better place as a nation.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. We're going to start questions because we've already gone a little bit to the right. So we're going to start with Scott M. I'm guessing we know who you are, Scott. If you're the same Scott, thank you for all the supportive organizations. Jim, Scott says, "Hey guys, thank you for everything you do. As you continue to advocate for veterans' voices at the national level, How are you currently identifying and tracking shifting sentiment or emerging needs across different veteran communities, particularly at the local or regional level? So I'm going to pass that to Jim in a second. Let me just answer this by saying we are looking at some technology opportunities, Scott, to help with this, not to finalize it, right? To help us speed up that information gathering process, so that we then can use some of the stuff I think Jim will talk about from his perspective. So Jim.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's something that us as an organization is constantly looking at and trying to improve. I mean, there's a number of ways we do that through the platforms that we have that are almost instantaneous, but it's also we have people geographically all over the country. Yeah. So to keep their fingers on the pulse of what's going on. And I think the other piece is listening to other VSOs through phone calls, through meetings like this, and getting their perspective, and going to some key conferences that gets a sense of some of the challenges different organizations and just different geographic areas are facing. And you're right, your point is spot on. I mean, there's some areas of the country and some cities that have a program that addresses let's say homelessness in one way, and then you go 500 miles in the other direction and it's a completely different one. So I think it's making sure we're getting all of that information and sharing that with the right people and bringing that to the attention of the media so that they can talk about it as well. But we need everybody's help to do that. I mean, the fact is, we need to have more veterans, more of their families involved with what we're doing. And the more that continues to grow, and it is climbing, and it's growing a lot faster than we thought, but we're never satisfied, right?
That's right.
Eventually, we want to be able to reach all 18 million veterans. And that's going to take a little time, but with everybody's help, that's not insurmountable.
That's right. Well, and there's a gauge here. Like, so the weird part is from a nonprofit perspective, Jim, we need numbers, but I need veterans to understand that, you either help us make this work or not, because we need the 10,000, we need 100,000, we need 1 million veterans, right? Because again, we're just putting this, we understand the system and how it works in a sense that's where we're spending our effort, right? So how do I take somebody that has this issue, and then I have the government, city, state, county, whatever it is over here, and then we're kind of bringing those two together. Some of that is through education and informative information, through blogs, through news, all of these things, right? So it's kind of like that mindset. Nobody goes and takes the expert infantryman badge test without doing the test first, right? Like understanding each one of the tasks to go and do it. And that's really, if you simplify what we try to do as an organization, is that, but you need the voice. So this is a numbers game for everybody that's here. It's a numbers game of okay, Dan, hey, how many people do you know? Do you know 2 or 3 veterans that could give their voice? If so, hey, stand on, help them stand on your shoulders so that we can get their voice to continue to move this forward. So I think that's part of this idea, Scott, that you're asking here, is we're going to apply some, applications and other things to make this work. But at the core of it, we need the veteran community and the family community to stop 5-10 minutes a month. This is all we're asking for, to come in, take a poll, and then move on. And then our part back to you is to give you those statistics, that information, to share however you see fit, to make sure that you're getting the data and the stuff that you require at the local level while we're educating and informing.
Yeah, I'll do a quick story. The local YMCA I go to, obviously not frequent enough, but the one I do go to, I was talking to a older gentleman there, and about Mission Roll Call. I had a shirt on, and he asked about it, and he seemed really interested. And I told him about our app, and he said, "Yeah, I really don't know how to do that." So I said, "Well, let me do it for you." So I got out his phone, downloaded it for him, showed him how he could take a poll. And he was incredibly thankful for that. Now, I was doing it because I wanted another number, right? I wanted somebody else from his generation to vote and give us his perspective. Yeah. But I think all of us can do something simple like that, just forwarding the site to somebody, sharing it with somebody. Hey, this is important. And to your point, it only takes a few minutes.
That's right.
To do it. And those numbers are powerful. When we go into a senator's or a congressional office, or to the chair of the House Veterans Affairs Committee and talk to them about something that's important to our veterans, they're listening.
Yeah.
Because they know we're reaching veterans at every demographic.
Yeah.
And that's important to them. And they don't have that ability. And it's not a membership model where, you kind of have to follow these things. We want diverse opinions, and we want to share that with key leaders and the American public to understand where the problems are. You can't fix problems if you don't know where they are.
And it's so weird, right? Because we came into this with this idea that like, yeah, man, we're a nonprofit, but look, we want people to donate because you're seeing we're making a difference, right? Like I want you to come in and go, wow, man, I'm giving money. That doesn't mean we're not going to ask. It doesn't mean you're not going to get emails, all that stuff, right? I mean, look, we do a lot of work, right? And we need the fuel to do more work, right? Because we need to be doing more, right? We have enough to do. And we're like, man, if we just had a little bit more. But I think there's a part of this that we've absolutely pushed this ideology and what you're talking about, Jim, where we've given stuff for free, and we're doing all of this because at the end of the day, we need change to happen. Change is not going to happen behind something. And some of the best things that have happened in America, at least, have come through groups of people standing up and having the fortitude to have a discussion about things. And that's what we're trying to do respectfully, being respectful to the person across the table, because my mom would probably slap me in the back of the head, right? Treat others as you would ask them to treat you, right? And that goes through my head all the time. I don't need to yell at somebody to get my point across. And that's what I love about what we've already seen. I don't even have to have those conversations. Not mission roll call. It's veterans are telling us this.
And we're not denigrating people that have differences of opinion. We're bringing the numbers there. Yep. And that's, I think, is refreshing when you can have an adult conversation about subjects that you may have different perspectives on and different feelings about. And I think that's what makes us different. It makes our group of people different, right? We all worked with people from different walks of life. But at the end of the day, they were in our platoon or they were in our wing or whatever, and they're on our ship together, and we love each other, and we may not agree on everything, but that's okay. And I think that's powerful for us as an organization. So,
yeah, absolutely. So we got a question here from Jeremy McKinney. Can we volunteer with Mission Roll Call? Is that a thing? So to answer your question, Jeremy, we are, I would say, 30 to 60 days from having a volunteer system. But the interesting part, it's not going to be like any other kind that anybody has ever seen. I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to give too much away because we got some more stuff we need to be there. We would love, though, Jeremy, for you to reach out to us, use the contact us form. Valerie kind of heads the volunteer program, and what we think. Part of what we're doing, again, is putting local nonprofits that may not have the funds, resources, and things like that onto our shoulder to create more of a impactful volunteer program. So here's the contact us page. Send in there, Jeremy. Let us know that you'd like to get involved, or anybody that's listening. We definitely want you. That way we can at least add you to our list of, hey, I want to be part of the volunteer program. I want to help with these various things. And then we'll kind of go from there. Okay. The last one for you, Jim. John put a note here. I don't think so much of a question. I think it's more of a statement. I'll just get your thoughts on what he says here. But so many contributing tools can be brought into the equation. Studies have shown discriminatory forms of various types can cause middle psychology stress. Providing tools in that area, amongst many of which issues how to convince the services being rendered for veterans and military veterans should various races, colors, etc. He had brought forth calling the suicide hotline as a military veteran idea. As a military veteran, seemingly it's like speaking to a brick wall. The format of what? And I think we just listened to last week, Jim, or was the week before, where we were listening to the actual hotline. There was a whole hearing on the veteran suicide hotline and kind of that process and how everything goes. And there was actually some interesting things that came out of that. And did you get a chance to, because you may have been on vacation during that?
I did not listen to that, but I did see the notes the team put together on that.
Okay. Yeah. One of the things that was interesting out of that, John, just for and this is one aspect. The one thing I love about the current group is that everybody's looking, right? Everybody's trying to find the problems to create solutions of some sort. And they're at least willing enough to take feedback on things. I mean, Jim, I don't know if you're seeing any different, but from my perspective, looking kind of outside in on what, Jim and Mike and the rest of the team that really rocks this portion does, they seem to be taking it. The suicide hotline, the interesting part for me on that was there was a conversation there about that they had somebody come into the organization at the leadership level, and they were more focused on numbers, how long it was taking you to get through versus actually focusing on the person. Now conflict begins, right? It's like the ethos. Like, if I come into an organization and I think that I'm going to be doing this thing, right? I'm going to come in to be an infantry guy and I'm just going to run people over. But then I come in and all of a sudden I'm an HR guy, right? It's the same reason that, what's the statistics? I was going to say the statistics. I did not set this up, by the way, but it's the same statistics when you think about military service members transitioning, and it's like 48% the first year leave their position, and then it's like 80% the second year. Well, it's because you think you're coming in to do this, but you get there and you're doing that. Well, that problem was with what the leadership wanted versus the person that's answering the phone, right? And that resistance starts to ploy and starts to play. So that's an interesting thought, John, from you on like just about that. And we're trying to learn more about that as well as we're looking for access to care on how to get that.
And
but I don't know, Jim, if you got
the thing I would say, obviously it does strike a chord because there's a hearing about it. Right. So, I mean, Congress stopped what they were doing and said, let's dive into this. Let's find out what the issues are. And you're right, Ray. If somebody comes into an organization and the measurables are now in this area, but the focus is in that area, there's a disconnect. So there's got to be a kind of a reconciliation of, okay, well, what are the number of things that we're going to really focus on? I think everybody's heart's in the right place. Everybody's desperate on ending this terrible number that is suicides. So I always give everybody a little bit of grace that they're trying their best to figure it out. And this might be the lever they've latched on, maybe, right? But it takes, if it was a simple problem, somebody would have solved it.
Yeah,
it's a complex problem. And billions has been spent on it, and the numbers haven't gone down. And, kudos to the VA secretary for acknowledging that. I mean, he's come in and said, this is not working. We got to relook it. And so maybe it's part and parcel to that. But I appreciate him bringing up that topic, and I think it's good for us to discuss it.
Yeah, and what better time for veterans to be involved, right? You got somebody that's actually willing to listen.
Have your voice heard.
Definitely do. And I'm going to correct those facts. The facts are approximately 43% of veterans, their first civilian job, they leave within the first year, 65% within 2 years. And it's basically career advancement.
Still very high, much higher than the normal.
Still high. Still high. I mean, it's over 50%, right? So that means that system. I bring that up because next month, so for everybody, we're going to see you. I think we're going to go ahead and end the town hall for today as we start to close down here. Next month, August for us internal. So July into August, we really start to focus heavy on employment and career transition. We've got some stuff coming from MRC University. We're going to be focused on financial literacy and just like the baseline, right? Because a lot of this is, a lot of what happens with the first civilian job is you just don't know what bills you're going to have. Like literally, I didn't know. I didn't understand insurance and housing and like all those things that I got. And then all of a sudden I leave and I'm like, and that's me, somebody that's retiring. We're not even talking about somebody who is ETSing, right? So they're exiting service and they did not finish a career. They don't get any, any other medical forms or any rest of that stuff. These are the folks that we're highly focused on, along with those to make sure everybody's educated. They know. And then it's not just a service member, it's a spouse, right? Because at the end of the day, we all know usually the spouse is making sure she's keeping us in line, especially Jim's spouse, always keeping him in line as we try. It doesn't work very well. All right, Jim, you got any closing comments from your side for today?
Yeah, I guess the only comment I would have is I enjoy doing these. We do it live because we feel comfortable with what we're talking about and we love the interaction. I would ask folks to share it. But I think the real salient point I would leave with people is what we talked about earlier, is that get involved. Join a VSO, volunteer to help fellow veterans, mentor someone in your workplace that may be a veteran, or reach out to the old veteran down the street that you see walking by every once in a while. We all have a role to play in the life and the outcomes of our brethren. And I would just ask you to just spend a little time. And I'll tell you what, you'll get a heck of a lot out of it, more than you put into it.
That's right.
I really value helping other people. That's the currency that I think many of us really value more than anything else. And that volunteerism, that esprit de corps, that being part of something to help other people, that's what drives us, that what makes us feel good about ourselves and makes an impact on those around us. So, take the poll, share it with your friends, get involved. And if it's not with us, then with another organization, and you'll feel good about yourself doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for everybody that's here and all the platforms, like, we can't thank you guys enough. Like this organization exists for you. Okay. We came into this with the idea, are we filling a gap? So before we even started this, and those that came before us did a really good. And our part of this is to continue to move it forward, but we can't do it without your voice. Your voice is what carries the message. Okay. So I leave you with these couple things. One, thank you for your service. Thank you for all you've done for our country. Do not forget about the generations behind us. Okay. That's all we're asking. Serve a little bit longer. Don't just drift off, right? We need to keep those ethos for those that follow us, because they will have the same issues that we had.
Yeah.
And if we don't help them to inform, educate, and connect with them, they're going to be living the same struggles when they leave. We've got to fix this. And that's on all of us that are veterans here, and our families and those that support veterans. We're all in this together. The other thing is, for the spouses, thank you so much for letting us borrow your other half. I won't say the better half, because for most cases you probably are the better half. I know my spouse is. So thank you for letting us borrow your loved one to make sure we have the freedoms that we all enjoy every single day. And the last thing, remember, next month, August 20th, we'll be back. We got a lot of really good things that are coming up over the next month. So we look forward to seeing you guys, and we appreciate everything that you're doing. Thanks, Jim, again, for taking your time to be here. And we appreciate everybody.
My pleasure. Thank you, Ray.
All right. We'll see you guys. Have a good one.